Privet, my name is Glaza. I have taken the time to record this for any who would take up our cause. The road has been nothing but mystery, and fresh eyes can only help. This all started some months ago, when in the course of some mercenary work, 5 highly skilled Bivsi were brought together. First is Noah Hughes, a professional hitman from the UK. He has an expertise in close quarters combat and is also a brilliant chemist. He and I have also taken some steps in what I would have once called the pseudo-science of alchemy, but we'll get to that later. Next is Sarah Schultz, possibly the single greatest getaway driver in the world, and the most openly criminal of any of us. Needless to say, she's built up quite the talent for acquiring things. The least Jostoki of us is Tristan Samaton, a jewel thief and spoiled son of British nobility. The boy annoys me, but he is unparalleled in his ability to slip in and out of somewhere unnoticed and disguised. I would trust no guard or lock to oppose him. Of the group of us brought together, I have known Mango the longest. He is a Bojevilny terrorist, or as he would say, freedom fighter, an expert with explosives, firearms, and torture. Of all the operatives I have worked with, he is near the top of the list of who I would have had brought onto this with me. Which brings us to me. As I mentioned, I am called Glaza. I believe I am the only one among us with formal clandestine training. I am old enough to be the father of any other member of the group, and I am the single greatest expert in digital intrusion in the world. Our group brought together is supremely talented and can accomplish things that would take special agencies months in days. To the extent that on the afternoon of our meeting, we broke into a NATO base and stole the single most protected object within. A laptop, which started us down the road of conspiracies we now find ourselves. The fixer who brought us together was executed soon after we got the laptop. His dying words were to tell us to search for a Harker, the location of whom was only known by a journalist we ended up abducting. However, the agents of the conspiracy were chasing her, so making it a rescue rather than a kidnapping. We would never meet Harker, but it was in pursuit of him we would find the depth of the pool of Dermot we found ourselves in. The man who killed Harker could dodge bullets, control the weather, and snap apart the support of a building like kindling. His appearance and the book Harker gave us, still possibly our single best clue, revealed his terrifying, impossible identity. We had made enemies of Dracula. Not only did the literal mythical figure pursuing us have all the power his literary counterpart would suggest, but he also had significant control over the police and government. We still don't know how much, but all clues would suggest a lot. We barely escaped him with our lives, but now having a face and name, we set off to slowly chop down the tree of his influence. Thinking it was a good idea to get away from the immortal death machine in active pursuit, we followed a lead from the laptop that led us to Serbia. Mango talked some intel out of local thug that led to us crashing the wedding of a mob boss connected to the conspiracy. This is where we first learned of EDOM, an agency of the British government made to hunt vampires that were using the Serbs as spies. They would have been a useful ally if they were not infiltrated long ago. As far as we can tell, much of EDOM is overseen by a vampiric rival to Dracula called the Red Prince. And while you'd think the enemy of our enemy would be a useful ally, he has not come across as particularly friendly either. From the wedding, we also gained our next target, a charity in England called the Caldwell Foundation that would end up being a hub for human trafficking and tax evasion for would-be vassals to Dracula. However, this was not the most disturbing revelation. The occult ties Caldwell held became obvious very quickly, but it was not until Tristan was captured that we would realize its founder, Henry Caldwell, was an actual vassal of Dracula, a vampire. It was through Tristan's capture that much of our enemies' knowledge of us came. I cannot fault the boy. Normal torture is one thing, but it seems the undead can simply just pull the information from your mind. Caldwell would prove to be a formidable enemy. Using his influence and army of cybernetic minions called Renfields, he would threaten Tristan's family, Mango's favorite baker, and all our lives. Eventually, though, we managed to infiltrate his lair, and as powerful as he was in the dark, vampires seem to be as vulnerable as any man while the sun shines. But we chopped him up and burned to pieces just to be safe. From Caldwell's notes, we would gain our greatest weapons thus far against Dracula, alchemy, and the mystery of the Scholomance. Seeking the source of this strange power, and the author from whose notes we learned of them, one Countess Elizabeth Bathory, we made our way to the Carpathians and the town of Košice in Romania, the heart of our enemy's power. In Košice, we learned that my father was correct, that the dirty gypsies are evil, not that I ever doubted him, as nearly all of them in the city are under Dracula's control. We observed them, and following the alchemical significance of the water in a town that was once a lake, we narrowed down their operations to an old bathhouse, just in the nick of time too, as during our surveillance we observed an American, who we have presumed to be another vampire by the name Quincy Morris, identify Mango as property of his master. This advanced warning was just barely enough to get out of the country with. It was during our escape that I got the single worst call of my life. I was contacted by the one claiming to own Mango. The bastard has my granddaughter. In desperation, I brought us to Slovakia to search for the Countess. We explored her castle without luck, but through her familiars, we managed to set up a meeting. We met the vampiress in a club called Gush, where she informed us that she believes Dracula himself to be concerned with larger matters than us, but nonetheless offered to give us the location of Mango's master in exchange for the capture of the leaders of a local EDOM listening post, disguised as a chemical manufacturer. The post is as heavily guarded as any military installation, which is to say, it took us about 3 days to get into their critical systems. We have gassed the majority of the base unconscious, electronically locked all the doors, and cut off communication. The fate of these people will be gruesome, but it will be worth it.